back, everybody. We're joined by Hotshot GG here in the booth from CounterLogic Gaming. How's it going, Hotshot?
What's up, dude?
So, coming into your first match, let's get this one out of the way as we hear. It shows adaptability for you guys and the fact that you have been training a lot and that little things may not mean the end of the game, but you forgot to set up some runes for that first game. You still kind of persevered, though.
Yeah, that was rough because Darius played it pretty well, and the matchup's already in favor of Elise pretty hard, so I got crushed, and I just tried my best to survive.
Right on, right?
All right, so I want to actually talk about the game you just played. So, Good Game University, how do they feel as an opponent to you guys?
To be honest, they felt stronger than TSM right now. They're formidable, and they have a really, really aggressive early game, so we held them back, and they start to fall off a little bit later on.
Cool. So what kind of, so I saw a lot of calls from you guys where basically you would trade turrets really well. So there's one where you guys went top lane as they pushed mid and they held to recall back. Double tried to ult them to keep them from recalling. Like, who's making the calls for you guys? Is that Chowster still?
That's Chauster, yeah. If one of us has an idea, we'll chime in, but mostly Chauster is leading the calls.
And you've just been just relying on him basically.
Yeah. He pretty much outplayed them during the mid game. We tooled them around for quite a long time.
Cool.
So you guys feel like, knowing you had the upper hand here, at what point did you just say, let's start going for inhibitors? You were trying to test the Baron attempts back and forth, trying to make them just think that you were going to go for it. Where did you just say, let's go for the base and fight it in there?
So we needed a few key items, like Doublelift needed his Trinity Force. Link was really, really close to Hourglass, and versus Reset comp, you cannot die. So
yeah.
Link really wanted to hold off. We gave up a dragon around mid game because even though we were like ahead, because we didn't want to potentially get a reset on Link. So he got his Hourglass, and then we started playing as aggressive as we could.
No, it's actually really smart to sort of build yourself around items. It's really, really smart. So yeah, we noticed the early Hourglass both times. And I want to go back to game one. So Syndra, you grabbed the Golem Steel off of it, but Syndra's not someone we've really seen a lot in competitive. Why that champion?
Well, see, Link is really, really versatile, and he has some really unique champions, and Syndra is one of them. And honestly, Syndra's really, really strong right now. He plays him well, and I think he's our favorite champion.
So we're going to see more Syndra from you guys.
I think so.
Do you feel like that champion pool that Link brings to the table kind of diversifies things from what you guys had with Big Fat?
Yeah, for sure. I really like Link's champion pool, and it really complements our team better.
Awesome.
What kind of role does he like fill on the team? Like if you had to give like like outside of like he's a top laner, I'm a mid laner, you're like what is everyone's role on that team?
I really think that Link's role in that team is just to prevent bad things from happening. He runs TP a lot, and he stops me from getting dove. And sometimes, like he'll counter the top lane's TP with his own TP. So he really fuels this like mobility, like he stops aggression and stuff like that. It's really good.
What about everyone else? Like so Chowster obviously is a strat caller, but what does he do on the map for you guys?
So Chauster is a strat caller, and he plays really aggressive jungles. He likes to make plays and tool around the enemy team during mid game. Doublelift is like all damage. Like we're like, Doublelift, build tanky this time. He buys like a Trinity Force, and he's like, that's tanky.
300 health, I'm good. I can kite.
I play like more of a tanky defensive role. I usually get banned out in my favorite champions, so I opt to just play more of a defensive role and try to, mitigate Doublelift's no tanky style. And it usually works really well. And Afro plays really good with Doublelift. He has a really aggressive mentality, and he wins lane a lot.
Right on. Going back to, when you switched in and out of the jungle and whatnot, just thinking about those times, did it change your playstyle at all when you went back to the top lane? Did you perceive it differently? Did you just take it on differently?
I kind of went back to my old style. I have a few aggressive champions that I just win 90% of my games on, but I really played a tanky role and like a defensive role back when I played top lane, so I didn't really change that much. I'm not a hyper-aggressive style top lane.
Right on.
Awesome. Yeah, well, congratulations on your guys' 2-0 start to the LCS. We hope to see, of course, more awesome games for you guys throughout the season, and congratulations once again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cool. All right, guys. Now it's time for Team Solo Mid versus Vulcan Command. TSM was the best North American team last year, but Vulcan is definitely one to watch after their run in the qualifier. This match will be a good measuring stick for Vulcan's chances this season, Freak.
All right, that's going to be really interesting. We saw TSM down to an unfortunate 0-1 start, but Vulcan, you know, we saw Zuna as that
Yep.
AD carry for them, right? He top laned at IPL 5. He was a jungler for CLG Black, and now he's here looking really, really good.
You know what? Well, they have top laners that are strong on both sides because you're going to have Dyrus there as well. And Dyrus has been in the top lane the entire time. But we have also seen in Zuna's case that a lot of teams are picking up members that have been in different positions. And they're actually very formidable because it gives you a little bit better idea of what's always going on around the map. We'll have to see how those two match up within the next match.
Well, on the blue side, of course, it is going to be Team Solo mid here. We just talked about Dyrus in the top lane. You got Awad in the jungle, Reginald for mid, and that KX Nick special bottom lane. Let's see how it fans out for him.
Yeah. So we have this coming in. Vulcan on the red team. It's going to be Psycho Sid up top. Xmithie in the jungle. Mandatory Cloud in mid. Zuna and Muffin Cutie on AD and support.
That's going to be just an awesome match overall, right? These guys are stellar competitors. TSM, you know, down to an 0-1 start, and you know, I like kind of talking about this sort of top 4, bottom 4, because I think there's an easy sort of line to draw where you have the 3 teams that auto-qualified, which was Dignitas, Team Solo Mid, and Counter Logic Gaming, and you expect them to be favorites. You just do. And then you almost want to roll Curse into that 4th place spot because they got 4th place in the North American Regionals. They stomped the competition at the live qualifier here, and you kind of say, yeah, there's a kind of an obvious top 4 and kind of an obvious bottom 4, but just look at what Hotshot said, right? GGU looked better than Solo Mid.
Yeah.
Which, going into this one, you've been like Solo Mid, like best team from 2012, like they're going to look really, really strong. And as far as the CLG measuring stick goes, they're like, actually, GG is a top competitor.
They did look really good. They looked strong just overall in the composition. It seemed like when Team Solo Mid was going to initiate, it was a little sporadic. Not everybody was on the same page. It wasn't all happening as it used to. You know, Dyrus didn't live the entire fight. It wasn't very TSM-esque, so we'll have to see what happens as they come in here. Maybe a little bit more careful because that was one of the slowest games we saw throughout the day, was that matchup.
Yeah, and that's, I think a lot of that is CLG forcing their will on teams, right? You, again, look at what Hotshot said, and I would love to pick that man's brain for hours because, you know, you said, yeah, we're against a reset comp. You know what? We're not going to pick fights until we get the items. Yeah, he's going to rush his Zonias because we're against a reset team.
Right.
Like, and you kind of pointed it out in the commentary where it's like, hey, who are you going to go for here? Well, not Doublelift, not Link, not anyone. And again, they picked the team around that and they itemized around that. And that's one of the wonderful things in this game is itemizing around counter picks and itemizing based on strategy. And then again, picking fights based on strategy. Yeah, we're winning, but let's not risk it till our items are there. And that's really important for these guys. CLG, I think more than anyone we've seen so far in our 3 games this season, have been good at game pacing.
Oh, of course. It's one of the things they have to be because the champions they choose for late game, the way they want to fight, and just actually their fight style. They're not a team that is a dead set reinitiation team because we saw them going in for inhibitors. We saw them teleporting in and, you know, making things happen for themselves. But they're a team that'll do it at the, you know, 90% we have a chance of winning this. One person might go down, but we're going to win it. So they choose very carefully which fights they enter.
And they're just so good at coordinating it out as well that, you know, again, the Chowster just yells for his team, both in fights and out of fights, makes the calls. They unquestionably or unquestioningly follow him and do what he says and make those fights happen. You can see Vulcan on your screen right now. There's Muffin. And yeah, you know, I got to hand it to Chowster for, you know, really putting that team together. But let's move on to the match at hand. We talked about it a little bit. Let's go back to it. Solo Mid versus Vulcan. Solo Mid looked a little bit shaken in the first game, but, you know, their individual skills seemed there.
Yeah, they did. Reginald still played well in middle. Link had a very good game against them because who's played against Syndra in quite some time, right? So you're going to be thrown off a little bit there. It happens with champions. We saw it at the regionals with a few like Kog'Maw and whatnot. And, you know, when Jace started being played by Saucy up in the top, or not Saucy.
Which regional?
EU.
The EU regional or the EU qualifier. SOAS top laned it back to EU.
Thank you. I knew it was an S name.
The season
My
2
brain
regional,
just completely collapsed.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, like things like that, just nobody knew what to do against it, and that's what he kind of brought out with that Syndra there. So yeah, Reginald's still in top form. We'll have to see if Kale is a big pick here again for them in mid. It didn't seem to work out too well.
Yeah.
Intervention was kind of used at times where it wasn't, you know, most optimal. So we'll see if they decide to go with that again. It didn't seem to work for him too well.
I like it. You're right. It didn't work very well for them. Some of that might have been CLG. Some of that might have been jitters or whatever. But Reginald, like back in beta and early release, was one of the first guys to pick up Kale, actually. If you go like way back to 2009, like legitimately before she had good attack, before she had the old passives and all that, like he was like, you know, I'm going to make Kale, like no one plays Kayle. I'm going to make Kayle work. And he did. He found ways to make it work. And his old team, back when he had Dyrus, like when they were all or nothing, Dyrus would just like play Jax or nothing, Jax or bust. And it was great. Like he would just find kills because his team would initiate. He'd get the ult down. And that sort of part of Kayle hasn't gone anywhere. So he's played this champion for 4 years, basically. I mean, he legitimately like tried to main Kayle back in 09 and found ways to make it work. So if anyone's going to make Kayle work again, it's got to be Reginald.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we remember the MLG when we do the listening with these guys, and they even forgot that like Kayle was there to be used. And Dyrus was like, "Oh, bleep, that's right. You guys are great. We'll bleep it, Kayle." So it kind of like falls in and out, but when it does, people use it to great extent.
Mm-hmm. And so I like that. And honestly, I think the way to make that work is to find those big frontline initiators. When you look back at Curse vs Dignitas, one of the fights was won by Elements on Lulu, getting a Kayle ult, then ulting himself as Lulu, and then flashing in to be like, I'm going to slow you guys. I'll die, but I'm going to slow you guys so we can initiate. And it just gives you opportunities to do things. Suddenly, you can't get rid of that champion. If you run a Twitch, Kayle Twitch was like the old beta combo of Twitch kills everyone, Kayle ults him, and you don't stop him until your team is dead. I kind of want to see that come back, honestly. Kayle Twitch was kind of fun to watch. But Kayle Karthus we saw from Team Solo Mid, Kayle, any big frontline guy who tries to kill people, Kha'Zix, etc., they're good combos.
We haven't seen a lot of the Kayle Wukong that we actually saw within the past few tournaments as well. Katowice, I think, had some, as well as Brazil. We definitely saw it a lot from Tabs. This guy is choosing the heavy initiators with that Kayle ult, and it really does, accentuate the dive composition that these people want. You have the Zins going in, or the Shins going in. You have Lulu to help that out as well.
Yeah.
But we saw a lot of those ultimates being used kind of like Lulu Kayle instantly.
Yeah.
It's like kind of doesn't help. They came out of the fight on top, but we'll have to see if these guys can really spread those out. These fights are going to go so much more in their favor. So little mistakes are definitely still being made.
Sure.
Then again, everybody's coming off of kind of like preseason where you haven't been able to play a lot. Like Doublelift said, we haven't played against all the other teams, so our late game experience may be lacking a little in the bottom lane. So these guys are actually, still getting ramped back up into this as well.
I don't know if I can completely believe that being true, though.
Sure.
Like they've had to have been practicing hardcore for the start of the season. Now, certainly they've been.
Well, how much have they seen each other, though?
Yeah, you're right. That's actually really an interesting point, right? Like, he said that they've scrimmed all the teams in the top 8. I wonder how much, right? Because you look at, I don't know, right? And I'm kind of at a loss for words. Like, do they play each other a whole heck of a lot? Certainly if you're not playing them maybe in that week, so the guys who aren't here this week, Marn and Complexity, maybe those are the guys that everyone's trying to scrim because, we'll work with you guys later on and all that kind of stuff, which, gives them great practice, of course. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how it ends up panning out because if you're CLG, how much do you really scrim TSM when that's the first game coming up in the season? Like, do you really do that? Do you hide your main strategies and try the I can kind of see it in that a team could play like one of 3 ways, right? Like they'll run certain strategies, let's say strategies A, B, and C. And against Team Solo Mid, it's like, okay, against you guys, we're gonna run strategy C, but we're gonna practice A and B against you. And then against Dignitas, we'll practice C. And then we're if everyone's tight-lipped about it, they'll prepare everything but one strat against everyone else. Then you actually are allowed to kind of play around, and that's how I would expect these guys to play into it.
Yeah, because that first game we saw that both teams were kind of just like locked in. What? Like we don't care what you picked.
CLG knew exactly what they wanted, like, especially. I think TSM took a little bit more time, but certainly looked very focused in their picks. They were very focused in the picks on both sides. CLG, impressively so. I think they took at most 3 seconds for any individual pick.
3 and 4 pick 3 and 4 were just like locked in. Your turn.
Yeah, exactly. and that's always fun to see. I like seeing champ selects like that. And you look back at actually, I forget if it was Curse Dignitas or CLG GGU, but the last ban was at 0 seconds left, which means they were just like discussing it over and over and like, wait, do we ban Shen? Is that what we're gonna get rid of? And then like at the last second they're like, yeah, okay, Shen. And to me that's interesting as well, where sometimes, I mean, the ban phase is something you can fairly easily prepare for against teams because there's not a lot of interplay there. You're telling them, like, here's the guys we're going to get rid of, and, okay, in case they ban these, then here's, like, our 6th pick ban. But, like, it's always surprising to me when that's, like, a late ban. They're like, wait a second, they didn't ban this champion we're expecting. Then, it's interesting to see that sometimes they get tripped up.
Well, let's talk a little about those bans. We've been seeing a lot of Olaf. He has not been in the game yet. Xin has been jungling in every game that we've seen so far. Usually actually picked by the blue team, I believe.
Blue team every time?
It's
yes.
either like first or second pick usually.
TSM first picked it, CLG first picked it,
Yeah.
and then Curse got it pretty early on. Guys, it is champion select time. The 4th game of the day, Team Solo Mid against Vulcan Command. Here we go.
All right, guys, popping into champion select. Lise gets put down right off the bat. There's the LB once again. So Reginald has been wreaking some havoc with that, or it's Alphamu on the support.
Or special,
special, thank you.
Sure. But it is interesting that right away it's just this respect ban, and I like seeing that. And you know, over time we sort of start to see, like the first time you saw AD mids, we're like, oh my gosh, it's an AD mid, and now it's normal, right? And seeing LeBlanc be a standard ban might just come into sort of standard play. But for now, it's novel and it's awesome.
Few more. We see Mandatory Cloud on your screen right now as they are deciding what to do. Maokai has been taken out. The Odd One will not have fun with him. Nunu taken away from Muffin Cutie as well. So they're just kind of getting most of the generics up.
Yeah, that's the second ban that TSM has put onto Nunu here. The Olaf bowed out against Dyrus, I believe, for the second time in a row as well. And we're going to see what Solo Mid goes for the first pick here. It was Xin Zhao last time. That's my guess here because honestly, I like that champion as a pick. Yeah, they didn't win last time, but I think it's still a good champion to grab.
We do still have Shen up on the board. I think this is one of the only times he gets through. It looks like they may be able to pick up that Xin Zhao if they want him. And they look to just hover on this as they discuss. It's going to be Dyrus and actually decided to take Taric first. Maybe they want, to see if Vulcan shows their hand first.
And it's interesting because that was the first grab here from CLG when they played together as well, was the early Taric grab. So Shen, Xin Zhao, not surprised at all. Xin Zhao in the jungle, Shen up top. Really good picks there. This already opens up a heck of a lot of a playbook here for Vulcan because Xin Zhao can dive in there with Audacious Charge, and right on top of him, they can always have Shen ult and come through, and that opens up a world of pain, really, where you've got 2 initiators on top of you out of nowhere, and up until then, Shen can be split pushing.
We have a strong pick in Kha'Zix possibly coming out. Reginald, known to pick up some of the AD caster mids lately, so we'll have to see if he decides to pick that with himself. We hear the team, where you can see him actually discussing with his team.
Odd One is known for these supportive tanky junglers like Malkin, who was banned out, like Nautilus a lot last season. But remember, Amumu is still available, and one of the big things we've talked about is area of effect teams, Curse the Sad Bullet Time. It's a really, really good setup here. Zuna on Kog'Maw I like a lot. This is really, really nice for them here. The Sona grab I think works too. I would expect a 2-on-1 in this state, but we'll see what TSM runs here. I think they would expect 2-on-1 here, and I want to see what they top lane for it.
I really like what Vulcan's doing with their team. They've given themselves early game pressure as well as late game security with that Kog'Maw in the early game with Sid.
Yes, exactly, where they've got a lot of pressure here. They've got actually a really good defensive team as well, where Sin can knock back really scary initiators. He can knock away Kha'Zix. We've seen that work done really, really well by Mokate from MYM at the both IEM Brazil and the European live qualifier. So if Xmithie plays Xin Zhao right, he's going to have a lot of really good pressure here. However, TSM are looking super aggro themselves. Ooh, here is a very physical heavy, bruiser heavy team. If they grab Jace Jarvan, this is a team that can pretty much one-shot Zuna.
See what they decide to do. That's like you were saying, that one shot is going to be quite difficult. Zuna already has trouble getting away on, or not Zuna himself, Kog'Maw has trouble getting away. No escape for him. He does throw Cleanse on, but it's like Jarvan, you can't really cleanse a Jarvan all.
This is going to be interesting, exactly. So yeah, you can cleanse some stuns and slows, whatever, but the only thing you have here for Jarvan is Flash. But what I'm intrigued by is I'm expecting it's Malphite top lane against Shen. Now, what this tells me, right, is to beat Shen, you've got to do something special. You've got to beat a split push. Now, you either pick something who can beat Shen one-on-one, like teleport Needly, or you say, screw the one-on-one, we're going to initiate fights out of nothing. And Malphite is a champion that does that and initiates fights and says, you know what, screw it, we're going in. And they can go off of that with Jarvan, they can go off of that with Kha'Zix, and of course Taric and Misfortune can follow up there. So TSM are going to look to start fights just bam, out of nowhere. Teleport Malphite, I guess he'll try to go heads up against Shen, I just don't know if it'll work all that well. But they're going to be able to start fights really, really hardcore. Now what I'm interested to see is how well does the rest of this team sort of play together, because on Vulcan, right, you've got Kog'Maw, the obvious focus of attention, but also Ryze is a great late game champion who can start putting out damage in team fights, and Sona and Shen, they're on defense duty.
Yeah, they have a great front line for Zuna to just sit back, and if anything actually does go wrong, Muffin Cutie's like, whoa, dance for a second.
Yeah.
We need to back up, reinitiate this fight. But then again, you have the AoE ult coming in from Chaos, that bullet time that we were talking about, and you have ultimates that pretty much, do the same thing. They're going to be kept in a crowded area. Dyrus ulti to come in as well, shred them with the bullet time. So they've kind of like put that Curse of the Sad Mummy back in their composition.
I'm actually really impressed by their champion select. So normally we can kind of look at champions like and be like, yeah, here's like the one thing your team is good at, right? Like, hey, this is a late game team of
Right.
Kog'Maw and Ryze, and you've got defensive tools. Okay, cool. And to make that happen in early mid game, you've got Shen to split push to buy some time until Kog'Maw and Ryze can scale. Great, Vulcan, that's a good team. But look at TSM's. TSM's got two things going on. They've got an area of effect team, Malphite, Misfortune, Kha'Zix because he'll reset and put out AoEs, and Jarvan to also hold them in place. But you've also got an assassin team, Jarvan, Kha'Zix, Malphite. Well, shoot, now you've got two ways to win the game. You can kill the entire team, or you can just kill Kog'Maw and mop up afterwards. So
Right.
TSM have a really, really nice team.
Scary teams, the one way to start it off. Like we said, Freak, throwing your team or your opposing team out of their comfort zone is one good way to start the game. And that's what we've done right here. Into the matchup, on to Summoner's Rift for your fourth game of the day. It's TSM versus Vulcan.
Okay, and here we go. We're going to look at the postures, and we see already TSM look defensive, or at least to put some wards down. They've split their team up, and the same here for Vulcan Command. So we'll see what kind of stuff they're going for here. They're looking, Vulcan are honestly looking to get themselves into late game, but their level 1 is honestly really, really good. I don't think there's a lot, like a whole heck of a lot that Jarvan and Malphite do at level 1, nor Kha'Zix, whereas Shen, Xin Zhao, Ryze, and even a little bit of Sona Kog'Maw are very good early game. So I would have almost expected Vulcan to look for an invade here because they would work a little bit better, but right now they're looking defensive.
Well, what they are showing is a lane swap here. It's going to be against that Malphite, and we've seen Malphite doing quite well. Shen does, however, quite well in the lane swap as well, so he's not going to be too bad off in that one. Looks like the AD carries will not be swipping, yes indeed, new words, let's write them down, will not be swapping for TSM's side.
Now it's TSM with the standard lineup here. Dyrus with teleport means he's not going to get really in that bad a shape here. He's got a ward, he's got a potion, he's got that flask, and he's got teleport. So pretty much no matter what happens to him, he should be safe unless something kind of catastrophic happens to him. And of course for Vulcan, they've got Zuna and Muffin who will be able to push, but also give a lot of free farm to Kog'Maw. So the early lane setup here for Vulcan is quite nice. And then of course on Psycho Sid, he'll be okay-ish on turret. So Shen doesn't have AoE, he can't stop the push from happening. However, by taunting the other champions on the turret, like taunting Xpecial can contribute to a turret kill because he'll get taunted and take a bunch of damage.
Right. So, as they move out of the jungle, looks like the regular help from back and forth on their top laners. We do see bottom lane returning. Chaos and Xpecial are going to be verse. Psycho Sid down in the bottom lane, like you just said. That engagement, they're going to have to be very careful as Shen has that upper hand at the turret with his taunt. And the lane swap coming in, it's going to be Zuna and Muffin Cutie up top. That's going to be a lot of poke coming out of that lane, whether they like it or not. Those power chords are always going to hit. And like we said, Dyrus, pretty good at farming. He's probably going to go for that Chalice build in the beginning again to keep himself sustained in there, and maybe the Doran Shield as well, just to start it off.
Yeah, and it's also really on Muffin Cutie here to pretty much prevent Dyrus' passive from re-triggering. So every 10 seconds or so, it's going to come back up and give him another shield. And Vulcan's going to want to keep putting damage down every 10 seconds or so to keep that from regenerating back up. You just saw Sona harass, the shield's back. No actual meaningful damage was done to Dyrus there.
Pushing the lane. Ooh, quick in mid from Xsmithy. He shows pressure here to Reginald. Now, what is the point of showing, where you're going right now?
Well, I don't think it honestly did a whole heck of a lot. It would have been nice to find like a Rune Prison and do Audacious Charge, maybe run a flash. There's some damage again on a Dyrus. Look at him down below half health. And this is a very good setup. He's going to burn through all his consumables, and he's going to have to find something.
With that vision of him going into mid, actually Smithy starts to come back down. He pulls a quick U, and it looks like he may actually be completely reading this 3-minute engage here onto Psycho Sid. Sid's actually reading it a little bit early because of that ward. A beautifully placed ward allows them to see this coming in. They are going for a hard engage here. Everything's been used pretty much. Psycho Sid hurt. They exhausted Smithy now. Will he be able to get out of this one? They've used quite a bit. Double turrets behind. They go for the first blood, and it's going to be Odd One picking it up on Xsmithy.
Wow, very, very nice job by Solo Mid. And Vulcan, dude, they looked confused there. They weren't sure, like, hey, are we going to go in on this one? And they kind of went in separate directions, and Psycho Sid went back to the turret. And, oh, that 3-on-2 right there is so good. And I think they're going to find Psycho Sid here, too.
They are going in quite hard. Sid's forced to dash out of that one. The Dazzle is down. He's got some good distance made there, but that turn puts them so much closer, actually within auto attack range. Does he have it? Oh, he just flashes out of it. A beautiful flag toss. Almost capitalized on that.
That was a good escape from Sid. Unfortunate for Xmithie, had burned his flash very early on to dodge the first flag toss knockup, and then when they re-engaged, they found Exhaust, and this is going to be a ton of pressure. This turret could go down on this wave.
Yeah, they will be able to push this one down. Jarvan is staying there, and the Odd One says, guys, let's do this. Let's start pressure in a different lane. Actually, Dyrus is having some trouble up top, so now Dyrus is going to get an open lane to himself as they swap back.
All right, well,
or not.
No, he's going to move himself right there. The turret not quite going down,
okay,
but he's going to camp it out, and they will go for it here. The thing is, Jarvan's flag, it does add attack speed to nearby teammates, so you can put that down and help the push as well.
Actually, it looks like they're just going to try to beat down this turret. They get the ward down. There is the take for it. And I should see Chaotic Special and Odd One back right out of this situation and start to head to the top lane. And this is at the point where we see Reginald and Mandatory Cloud going back. The tier grab for Mandatory Cloud. Reginald going for Brutalizer. Doesn't have it finished yet.
All right, so let's see what they can do with this one. So solo mid off to a very, very good early lead. Minion kills in pretty much all their lanes except for the AD carry. However, Miss Fortune with an assist and a turret kill is still up in gold. So literally every member of TSM is winning right now. We'll see if they can move off from that.
So they may even try to get a gank out of this lane. Dyrus has just been able to hit that flask. He's got some pretty good health here in an initiation off of this lane gank, plus a what would be Odd One coming up. Looks like he stopped making his way up. He's going to head into Xmithie's jungle, but they may have a quick 3v2 up top.
All right, well, let's see. They're going to pull on back. You've got Xin Zhao and the rest of the AD carry group coming up there. We're going to see what happens here. Vulcan does smell it a little bit fishy. They know they should be a little bit afraid, but the problem is, oh, Reginald in the mid lane, a lot of damage. Look at that. And ManCloud's going to find it. Ignite, not going to kill him off. Great 1v1 there.
With Mandacloud, yes, very low in mid. They know they can pressure this top. He wastes an exhaust. He didn't even engage yet, and they put the exhaust down on him. Odd One throws himself in there, and they are just starting to dominate this laning phase right now. Muffin, Cutie, and Xmithie, and Zuna pushed out of lane.
That was really, really good there by TSM. Good duel by ManCloud to get that kill off for himself, but solo mid are really forcing the issue with Jarvan jungle. He is finding opportunities to make things happen. Hasn't even gone back to base yet off of his first blood, and they're finding another turret kill.
Super TSM-esque. This is what we saw from them, you know, right when they picked up Dyrus after dropping the Rayman, picking up Dyrus and getting about 7 tournament win streak as they go aggro in the beginning. They get 300, 400 gold up, and they make sure your jungler is always scrambling to get to a lane, so none of the lanes even have a chance to come back.
Exactly, and that is just so huge for them. 150 gold a person isn't massively individually,
right,
but when you get 2 or 3 turret kills, one of those guys is going to hit a big item breakpoint and just snowball ahead of his lane. You've got Ninja Tabby already done versus Cloth Armor when you compare the top laners. You've got a lot of damage on your AD carry. They've got a really good opportunity here for Solo Mid to keep the pressure on.
Now power and numbers means focus in mid for Team Solo Mid here. Very much different from their first game. They're playing this one very methodically, and it seems like they've known what they wanted from the first second.
And it all really keyed off of that amazing bottom lane gank where they burned Xmithie's flash. Because now Xin Zhao, he's got to be afraid. Solo Mid have been making all the moves. They've been finding opportunities. They've been finding turrets, finding kills. And Xmithie's just going to be afraid every time he runs around here. Solo Mid now are in control of Golem. And look at that, Xmithie, again, forced away. This is like TSM's playground right now.
Dyrus had a bit of a tough top lane, but it looks like he's going into the roaming phase with his team right now. Team Solo Mid looks to push this bottom lane a little bit. They have some good movement on it. It is past the river, so Dyrus is going to start soaking that up and get it right back into the turret, as these guys are actually already split pushing lanes at about 8 minutes here.
Yeah, and that's just massive for them. There we go. Dyrus up at the bottom lane, of course. You know, someone's got to get farmed somewhere, but
yeah,
he's going to take that one out for himself. Actually, Psycho Sid, to his credit, has caught up in minion kills. He's just, you know, down 2 turrets and gold, which is just a kind of a bad situation to be. But again, Vulcan, what they've been looking for the entire time is late game. They're looking to just kind of survive, not get ganked too hard, not get caught out too much. They've got a good ward in that top river, so they will know if Jarvan's coming, and they just need to get Kog'Maw and rise to late game status.
Let's see how Reginald is doing in mid here. We do have that AP caster versus an AD caster, 56 to 49 in CS. Not doing too bad on either side. 1 kill for Mandatory Cloud in there, as they did go toes up head-to-head in that last fight. We'll see if they do it again at some point. Like you said, Mandatory Cloud also going to get tanky with this lineup, and they are just looking for that late game right now, biding some time. They are getting, it's getting pretty scary though, because like we said, you know, it was one of GGU's kind of things to win the game, fast, quick, methodical. It's what TSM is bringing out right now.
And that's just a huge thing for them because they're amazing team fighters as well. Solamid have had the same roster since, I think, March of last year, 11 months together, and ooh, here comes another fight.
Initiation onto Mandatory Cloud, but they lock down a beautiful Cataclysm, keeps them all there. He's forced to flash out of his own, and they can gap close too. Sid picks up the kill after he gets out.
Yeah, nice attempt there by Odd1. The ult and the flash is a really good defensive tool to keep your teammates alive. However, they still found that kill. Reginald's flash is down. He is level 7 though, so he's going to have the ult for stealth if he needs it, when it comes back from cooldown, I should say. And that's a good counter engage there. Vulcan making moves like that will catch them up.
Let's see what they can get off of that. You know, good moves by TSM have definitely been stopped right now, because they're like, hey, wow, they can re-engage on us. We got to be a little bit more careful on how hard we're going here. That was just under the turret. They didn't know that Shen was there, but Sid was able to change that.
But CSM, I just like this though. Look at that. Once again, they say, hey, yeah, we just gave up a kill. Yeah, we're down in numbers, but ward control and a steal. Like, look at that. Yeah, they got the turret. They got the turret kills, which means minions are now all up in Vulcan's base, which means they can see if they leave. They can see if they go for a gank. They can see if they go for a stop, and they've now stolen their second buff.
And if we can actually just check out the mini-map vision for TSM right now, they have put a complete line of wards across the top side of that jungle. You can see it just curve all the way around. They have so much vision. The steals are easy for them. In and out of the jungle is completely theirs right now. They own 75% of the map.
And that's, again, just sort of the story of TSM here. This map is their playground. They have complete control. I mean, control is the word. They see everything. They've been making all the moves around the map. Yeah, some good ganks from Vulcan for sure. They've done a good job of that, but Solamid, they're just secure everywhere they go.
And the Dragon will be secure as well, Freak. It's going to be that much more of a gold lead. Not even contested here. Smithy throws a ward over. None the wiser that they took Dragon. May have the timer now that they saw MF pull away from it. It's going to be about 17 minutes when that comes back up, but that's now a quick, definitive 2.7 thousand gold lead in favor of TSM.
And that's just massive for them. 3 turrets, the Dragon. Again, the buff steals over and over. They are the ones making all the moves. It's funny because they're playing so aggressively without finding kills. They've got 1. The first blood was good. Very, very strong gank. Every other gank has been basically forcing flashes away, forcing them back to base, and then finding more opportunities to push in. So Solamid, I mean, they are just absolutely making great moves here. And the next step for them, with Dragon down for another 5 minutes, with all the outer turrets gone, they don't have Baron debate. That's not up yet either. They've got to, I don't think they want to go back to laning phase. They've got to actually find some way to keep the pressure on an inner turret, which is difficult.
So super early damage coming in here as well from Kog'Maw, going for the fast Infinity Edge by leveling the W and then relying on Q for passive attack speed and not rushing that either. Well, maybe he will after, but we'll have to see.
He's got a point in it, and that is some attack speed. This is just the standard Kog'Maw build. You max W for the range. Because you're a late-game type champion, it's not about the Bloodthirster. Like, Bloodthirster is a good mid-game spike item, and sometimes it matters if you have a lot of attack damage scaling skills, like if you're Ezreal or Graves. But when you're like, no, my job is to land auto attacks, when you're Kog'Maw or Caitlyn, it's Infinity Edge.
Vulcan now roaming all in numbers. They are quite scared of what could happen from this team, Solamid team. Like you said, Freak, in an early part of the game, they still have that assassination team. In the late part of the game, they are tanky, and they are all about area of effect. So they have a formidable composition for any portion of this game. Coming into this blue buff, they're trying to put some pressure on here, just waiting on the wing of it. It looks like they do have enough vision. They are none the wiser on Vulcan's man side. And it's just going to be on the outside. The flag toss into the bush for Vision as he dives himself in right onto Xmithy. And it's going to be the Stand United to keep himself alive. He tries to dash out to initiate a little bit of damage for the rest of his team to start the fight, Freak. But it looks like it's not going to be enough. Dyrus has just enough mana for his unstoppable force, and he comes in after the teleport, and they start to clean up this fight. Ryze and Sona both going down. The odd one falls, but TSM picks up 3 for 1.
And great initiation from them, and great disengage as well. The 3 for 1 is exactly right, with people limping away at barely any health left. Zuna somehow didn't even have to use a summoner spell to escape that kind of battle, And look at that, they're afraid of him. They know his summoners are up, his damage is high, and they're like, yeah, we got a 3-on-2, but all right, we'll be back later. Go ahead and just, you know, make that fight ours. But a 3-on-1 is a good engage for Solo Mid. Really, really good fight for them. Just awesome.
Double Bloodthirster finished at 13.5 minutes coming out here for Reginald, and Chaos in the assassination part of this team just exploded for these guys. They can start to stack those anytime soon, and it looks like it. Reginald's going to have a fat wave in mid to take right after he gets his blue buff. He'll be able to spam those skills and just take down all the CS he needs to get that fully stacked up. You can see Chaos doing work as well. If you're an 80 carry, you're not farming, you're not doing your job.
No, not at all. And again, that's just kind of the goal on both these sides, is whether it's KX, he has to make sure he keeps up. Certainly, he's never going to be the same crazy hyperscaling champion that Kog'Maw is by being Misfortune, but getting that damage out with the Bloodthirster, the potential Black Cleaver or Brutalizer,
right,
the Last Whisper, those are all really important damage items to make him sort of just AoE the team down, so it's still important.
Reginald thinking he only saw one with those spikes as he goes in, takes a bit of damage, and he kind of draws the attention of the team. Not too much movement, and you can just see Special moving in. Odd One's going to move in. They're kind of creating a wall so nobody can just take out Reginald. They want to plan something for this top lane, it looks like. With Dragon down right now, they can focus this area.
And that's going to be, you know, them just looking for that next move, Team Solo Mid, right? They've been aggressive early on. They're in the lead. You have to capitalize on an early lead by growing that lead. If you're up 4,000 gold, 50 minutes in the game, no one cares. If you're up 4,000 gold at this point in the game, people care a heck of a lot, and you've got to use that to get it more than 4,000 gold. There's another buff steal. Look for more pushes. You
know, that 75% of owning the map still exists for these guys. There may be a few wards in that Wraith bush, but what are Vulcan Command doing about TSM in their jungle? Absolutely nothing. A double buff Chaos walks out. They also have a blue buff on Reginald. Chaos actually just lost his blue, so they will be going into this fight right now with no blues on Vulcan's side. Top lane still being pushed, or bottom lane I should say, still being pushed by Dyrus, and they're really just going around the horn here, trying to be menace.
Yeah, let's see what they can do, right? TSM right there up at the turret. They've got 4 right there. Reginald off on the side. Zuna playing very far back. They are afraid of this.
Void Ooze there trying to be a quick deterrent, spreading out a little bit of damage. Not the best wave clearing ability from these teams right now.
Yeah, so here we go. So just camping up at the turret. You just want to, you know, see what they're going to look for. I mean, Solo Mid, they're pensive, which is interesting to me. I mean, it is very hard to siege against Shen, Sona, Kog'Maw. They just have the ability to catch you, lock your team in place for a while, and fighting under a turret is always a hard thing to do. So for Solo Mid, they're going to make stabs at a turret. They're going to see if the team reacts in time. We've seen the occasional 3-on-1 where a turret falls as the other team scrambles to get in place and they're not able to. That's what TSM's looking for here. It's, you know, can we find a fight here? Can we find it there? Oh, that's a free turret. Let's grab that. Dragon's up. Let's grab that. And they're just looking for targets of opportunity where Vulcan's not ready.
Top wave pushing out quite hard. We have Psycho Sid now with the Sunfire Cape. He's going to be able to kind of split push this as Shen now starts to bring Shen to where he wants to be in this game. 17 minutes in, 4-3. We just have a bit of gathering in mid lane as nobody is really definitively trying to get these lanes pushed out or trying to get this fight. Dragon just did come up, and that's what they're waiting for.
Yep, they shoved the mid lane to give a little bit extra vision, push the standard position of Vulcan back, and then say, cool, let's go for Dragon. They're spending a little bit of time to get the ward coverage. They're not rushing it. That's the thing for Solo Mid. They knew Dragon was up. They were nearby. They spent 10 seconds putting ward coverage down, making sure they're safe, and now it's theirs.
Again, uncontested Baron. It's going to be coming back up about 23-30. Jarvan, Odd One getting the smite down on that. It looks like they're going to slowly move down towards the bottom lane, and they've really been using that window of Dragon being down great. They were in the top lane last time, wreaking some havoc. Jarvan back down to the bottom lane. Gonna find out where Dyrus is. Looks like he's back in the top lane, so they have a good split push going down for each one of these Freak. He's pushing back what Psycho Sid just did in that top lane, and he himself only has a Haunting Guise into that Giant's Belt, so he's trying to get a little AP for himself there.
Yeah, it's a good build. Basically, playing Magic Penetration, Malphite is really good because they are worried about Zuna. They do care about what Kog'Maw does, and by being a long-range champion, by having Flash, he really won't be part of the AoE all that much. And so Dyrus is looking to, with the Odd One and Reginald, actually burst down Kog'Maw by just engaging onto him.
Strongly pushing on this turret. You can see 4 shots onto the Odd One, take him down about 25% health. With any attack speed within the next few levels, Zuna's going to be able to do that at a much faster rate. This is going to get scary soon here, Freak. Zuna's actually getting quite fed, and his team has become tankier a lot sooner than I would have expected. That Locket of the Iron Solari, Glacial Shroud coming out for Rise as well. So if he can get any sort of attack speed now, they could really start to turn these fights.
And that's going to be really an important factor for these guys. Chaos, nice free damage on, ooh, wow, hits Zuna really hard with that double up. That's a lot of damage put onto him. And yeah, you mentioned it, Zuna does not have attack speed yet, which is actually super, super relevant. He's got good attack damage, he's got the Doran's Blade, he's got the Red Elixir, but he's on 800 gold without any attack speed. That's really important. That's a very big damage multiplier that he needs right now.
Still putting pressure on these turrets. It looks like they're going to be able to grab this turret within the next minion wave here. This single one, probably not until they get the next siege wave to push up with a double. So we'll have to see.
Okay, well, they go back for it, right? The minions are there.
Yep.
But Solo Mid, they are reserved. We talked about CLG a lot about how they respond to dragons. They will willingly give up a dragon if it risks them the game. And
yeah.
Hotshot said it in the interview, right? We didn't have the items we wanted. We were close to them. Yeah, we were winning,
right.
But you know what? We don't want to risk it here. And DSM's kind of taken a page out of that book, saying we're winning, we're looking for opportunities, but unfortunately they've just not found them in some time. They've grown their gold lead ever so slightly, right? They're up 4,500 gold now because they're stealing away the jungle very successfully and taking dragons over and over. But they're really slow burning this lead.
And I think we see Reginald a little bit more in his own as well. 199 to 148 versus what was in Kayle versus Syndra game where he was down about 20 to 30 CS. He's on the aggressive champions, and he's just right back in there in the face of the other team, roaming around with Ottawa here, doing steals, and just on the other side of the wall, 3 members are patiently waiting from the other team. So these guys taking a lot more chances here in their comfort zone.
Yes, the red buff has been theirs over and over and over again. Wow, Vulcan actually having the pink ward inside like their own lanes to look for aggressive wards in lane. Like, Solo Mid are doing an absolutely amazing job with ward coverage, and Reginald's actually looking for a stab here on Psycho Sid at the top lane.
Pushing back, Reginald is just on the outside of that one. Dyrus is trying to bait this out. You can hear him laughing. They go in for the dive, and you can see him just tearing apart Psycho Sid there. Locket of the Iron Solari goes down, but it's just another attack. The reset coming in for Kha'Zix. Will he be able to get one more down? He's saving something at least to jump out. And there's the exhaust down. He is quite tanky. You can see how much 2 was just doing to him. He is lasting quite a bit, and actually one shot coming in from Zuna and Rise was enough to blast him down, but they lose a turret for that Freak. They've got control.
They are very good at making those opportunities happen. They get the 1 kill. They got Dyrus out. He is quite tanky, even with the sort of slight magic penetration build, but he's had a good time otherwise kind of farming here. And yeah, right, we talked about it with Hotshot GG as well, where he will, you know, kind of let him get chased by 4 people. On the other side of the map, his team has killed off a dragon or Baron or a turret. And the same thing here. Reginald and Dyrus, they pulled attention, and they got a turret, and now they got another turret.
You know, Freak, that was a perfect example of the fact that it's an assassination team as well as an area of effect team.
Yeah.
They took down Shen in a matter of seconds. That guy is going to be a gigantic shield for somebody on your team that's even less tanky than you are. So if they catch somebody out besides Shen, if that was going to be Zuna right away, he's going to have seconds to live, and that is not good for them.
Yeah, exactly. Psycho Sid's trying to catch up right here, of course. He, just like Dyrus, was in the 1v2, but Dyrus just looked kind of stronger. Look at the gold between the two of them. Dyrus at 7,000, Zuna at 4,500, and a lot of that is the global gold on the team. I mean, just look at the numbers left and right. 7K, 6K, 8K, 7K, 5, 4, 6, 7. Much smaller numbers on the right-hand side, because pretty much every member on this team for Solo Mid has about 1,000 gold from turrets and dragons.
We have 1,300 gold separates the supports. Yeah, that's a lot of money when you're coming out with utility on your team. Reginald pushing up into this top lane. Again, they're getting the split push going down. Dragon will be up in about 44 seconds, as you see on your screen. And that is going to be, again, another part of that contention for these teams to go for. Baron's really not in anybody's eyes yet. 3 Warmogs quickly finished. 2 Bloodthirsters finished first. 3 Warmogs finished first here to 0. And it looks like Shen is still just trying to build tanky. They have so much HP to go through. They have to. These fights need to last forever for Vulcan.
Yes, exactly. And that's going to be hard for them to make that happen because you've got the AoE team in step 1 and the assassination team step 2 for solo mid.
Right.
And they've got to withstand that. Now, Ryze has got Rod of Ages, he's got Glacial Shroud. Vulcan, they're ready for Dragon, which is nice, but solo mid are ready as well. This is going to be a very interesting battle.
The ward, oh, they just missed the third attack on the ward, and that is going to be one to maybe make them turn away out of this. They have vision right up top. They can pull it out far enough. They can get some good damage down. Zuna, great right now at clearing out this dragon, but it's not as much damage as they want, and it could be enough for the initiation. Reginald is going to be the aggressive Reginald he is, going in on Mandatory Cloud. They're almost able to drop Ryze right there. Beautiful, unstoppable force popping them up in the Cataclysm. It's going to be Reginald and Mandatory Cloud. He finds himself going down. Kaox to chase down to the bottom. Zuna now trying to kite himself out. A beautiful Void who's placed is going to stop them up in that choke point. Xpecial continues, but Dyrus says we're low, and looks like Kaox wants more, but they both back out. Both teams just biting at each other's neck there, only for one each.
Wow, I can't even believe that Vulcan got away with a 1-for-1 because I saw the teleport coming in from Dyrus on the ward right by Golem Brush, and it was like he's going to find them and he's going to get a perfect ult. And the Rune Prison happened in time to stop Unstoppable Force. You can't cast that while rooted. ManCloud saved his team from getting aced.
An amazing job there. Really shutting down Reginald right in the beginning was great. Here we see Xmithie coming in strong. There are wards in that bush. They have to be careful how much vision they don't know they're giving away. And it looks like they are going to go in. We can hear Zuna in the background just screaming. He's saying, go for it. Zuna is going to be coming up big for his team there. They're chasing him out. It's going to be Psycho Sid waiting for the next dash. He hits the Living Artillery, a second Living Artillery, a third Living Artillery, and he's going to get the double kill. They will continue to push. You can see him on your screen completely shouting it out. They finally back off, and they're going to grab a dragon too.
They should have fixed the headset at the end there. He was shouting so loud, the sound wave moved it off of his head, I feel. And now the dragon is theirs, and look at that. For the first time for Vulcan, they're looking a little bit better. Still 5,000 down, but they found equal parity in kills. They found a dragon for themselves finally. Zuna, he's a massive dude, 8,800, head and shoulders above his teammates there, and above everyone except Reginald's Kha'Zix.
Yeah, that Kha'Zix coming out very strong, but if you're going to be sitting in the back line, you're Zuna, you can completely take that Kha'Zix out before he gets to you, especially with a Sonar Crescendo to shut him down. If Reginald isn't going to get his resets, it's going to be hard for these guys. We'll have to see what they can do. An Oracle's being purchased up here by Muffin Cutie. These guys are going to start going objective heavy. He doesn't have too many other items finished. He actually only has that Ruby Crystal as well as a Kindle Gem.
Yeah, he's not super rich, but you know, he'll be okay here.
He's getting what's needed.
He's getting what's needed. Yeah, you just kind of compare him to Xpecial though, and the guy he's got more stuff. So the thing to point out really is that there's 3 Warmogs here on that TSM lineup, which would make them tanky against most teams, but they've got Xin Zhao and Kog'Maw here, who both scale off of the opposing team's health bars.
Yep.
And so you look at that team and you're like, actually, they can still kill you. It's not a big deal. So I'm excited to see what happens here for Vulcan, because TSM is very, very tanky, but deceptively almost fragile against the right targets.
The Black Cleaver finally coming out for Misfortune. I don't really recall seeing maybe 1 or 2 ults yet from Misfortune. I really haven't heard that bullet time cackle come out. We'll have to see if they can get that to go down. Muffin Cutie almost going down with a single attack as Reginald jumps in. The exhaust goes down. There's the bullet time coming out. The assist to go in. Kha'Zix picking up a kill. The resets as he jumps around the map. They're forced back into their base, and that was the exact assassination start that TSM was looking for.
That was absolutely beautiful, and you saw Sona try to disengage. She got exhaust, the ult, had the Shen ult go onto her, and they said, nope, we'll just wait till he pops up. Unstoppable force. And it stopped some people.
With somebody like Kha'Zix, an extra 500 range for you can mean out of place.
Yes, exactly, and that was massive. And here they come back in again.
Psycho Sid taking a bit of damage here. He's faring a little bit better than last time. The cleanse instantly put onto Zuna. There's the kite. You can't cleanse the Cataclysm, but nobody else can get in with him. Look how much damage he's doing to Odd when they finally break down the Cataclysm, and they pinch him down. Not going to be much from a Cathian surprise. TSM kind of setting up here with low health bars.
And this is kind of... I guess they had to do that, right? They did get their health bars low. That was actually really, really wise. That they traded a 1 for nothing, which, you know, is kind of bad, but not horrible. But they stopped Baron, which is worth way more than a single kill. So, you know, not the best fight for Vulcan, but probably the best decision they could have made.
For sure. 10-7 now, 28 minutes into this matchup. We've got a pretty good back and forth between these two teams. A gold lead is really starting to increase, however, for Team Solo Mid here. And a big point for that for Reginald with 4 kills. 42,000 to 36,000 with 5 turrets to 2. So the global gold.
Global gold.
I can say it. I'll buy some vowels for that later. And then
You're missing consonants. You had the O's. You were fine with the O's. You needed an L.
too many ovals.
Too many. What?
Yep.
Old. Okay.
There you go.
Now, speaking of ovals, we do have Baron Nashor again being contested here, and Solo Mid, they've got damage for it.
They are going to be starting onto this one. Odd One is right in the middle of the fray, trying to tank it down. He's actually taking quite a bit of damage here. Reginald just completely jumping out. Dyrus is on the backside with the teleport in. Unstoppable Force once again. A great crescendo disengage, but they will continue to fight. The Reginald reset jump misses on that one. He draws a little bit more aggro, but look how much damage each one of these guys can take. Zuna's left on the outside. Can he get himself back in? They're kind of just forced to run out of this one, no matter even if they have TSM choked in or not. A flash from McSmithy. Baron looks pretty tasty right now.
That was really, really good. The kill on ManCloud really opened a lot of doors for Solo Mid because there is no more damage output left. Dyrus made sure he basically sat on Zuna, and every time he could, ground slam, getting the cooldowns there and lowering his attack speed, really just shredding his damage output potential. Reginald helping to force him back as well. And now it's kind of on McSmithy and Psycho Sid to try to steal, and I don't know if they can.
Sid coming around the outside. Baron health is about 3,000 right now. They will not have enough time to get in. And a 4-minute pause button put on to Vulcan Command right now as the Baron buff ticks away for Team Solo Mid.
And this is kind of the story of this team, is they are good at picking up these incremental advantages and then finding another way to snowball themselves ahead. It took them kind of a while in the mid game, but now that we're here towards the late part of the game, they've found Baron Nashor for themselves. They pick up the 1 kill, they disengage, they go for Baron. Good smite there from the Odd One, keeps themselves in good shape, and right there, they're just back in good shape.
So we see that Rise still trying to stack that tier up. Mandatory Cloud seem to be behind on items right now, just compared. I mean, I guess it'd be all of Vulcan. They've been having quite a tough game here. The fights, however, if they can keep Zuna in the back line, we've seen the damage they can do. He is getting quite fed. He actually decided not to go for Fury Boots. He's going for Distortion Boots, which are going to give him that quicker flash teleport, which is quite interesting because of, you know, the chase that team has on him right now.
Yeah, he just really, really, really cares about Flash because he knows every single time Odd One gets into a team fight with him, he will get Cataclysmed. And you can't run through, you can't cleanse Cataclysm, you gotta pop Flash, and that is the only thing keeping Zuna alive is flashing that ult. If there's ever a good ult from Odd One, Dyrus comes in there, Reginald comes in there, Bullet Time comes in there, he's gotta flash it.
Alright, so the Distortion Boot's gonna help him in that aspect. You can see that under Kog'Maw. That's going to be Vulcan Command Zuna. If it comes into play for him the next time he flashes, we're definitely going to keep an eye. 11-7 here, 32 minutes just about into this game. That gold lead increasing quite a bit right now. 8,000 gold in favor of Team Solo Mid. They continue to pressure their advantages here. They continue to dictate where the map is going. Reginald just trying to harass from the outside. And Reginald more than likely going to jump in from the side.
Yeah, he's definitely his goal. Even though he has the war marks, he's a bit tanky. His goal is to come in a couple seconds after the fight starts and find someone to assassinate, because you actually saw some decent damage come out there from Zuna. He can wear down anyone on this TSM roster. If he's left alone, it's bad news for TSM.
If Reginald can get in after that MF ult and just completely crush. He has his Brutalizer, he has his Last Whisper, there's the ultimates going in, there's the ultimate from MF. Will he decide to jump in? Reginald still on the outside, Odd One taking quite a bit of damage. They're not able to trade back just yet. There's the Unstoppable Force, there's the jump in, the shred from Reginald takes out Zuna. Mandatory Cloud looks like he could follow quite soon. Everywhere! Triple kill coming in, and it's going to be Reginald pulling up the Kha'Zix resets.
There we go, 7-3-3 for him. Inhibitor is gone. And they've got one guy in the base to keep them alive, and that is Sona. They've got 30 seconds. TSM, they're looking to win their first game of the season.
And there it is. They are going to knock down the first Nexus turret after a loss in their first game versus Counter Logic. TSM really thinks the next one through. They pull it out methodically in this one, and they take him out surgically. Vulcan Command loses this one.
Congratulations, Solo Mid. They're 1-1 in the season. Well-deserved win, really. They looked good from minute one. That bottom lane gank, really well played. Xmithie was there to watch for it. You can see, of course, TSM on your screen right there. Interestingly, Dyrus actually sits in the middle despite being a top laner. I always like pointing out seating arrangement differences. Basically, Reginald and Dyrus swap places, but
those guys eat some cookies.
They do eat some cookies. They really got themselves in a good place there. We actually have some cookies here in the hall. That was actually part of my breakfast.
I didn't eat enough, obviously.
I ate some cookies for breakfast. So I actually really enjoyed that. But yeah, TSM from minute one, they looked really, really awesome. The good gank of that bottom lane there, getting the first blood into Xmithie. And it seemed like he never really recovered from that. Xmithie never found a good gank afterwards.
It seemed like, at first, like TSM went in, they were kind of like really going hard on it. But Reginald wasn't allowing Mandatory Cloud to move from mid. So they stayed there. They actually had about 2 chances to kill him both. Exhaust were used, not used. And then they finally got him on it. But you're right. The fact that they stuck with that and kind of shut down that lane, took his tower down so fast and swapped it out into the other lane, just allowed TSM to continuously crush down. They were at mid turret by about 9 minutes.
Yeah, and that's really just the awesome sort of gameplay from Solo Mid. I think before 5 minutes, they got their first turret kill. They had the Jarvan Turret Misfortune there, just going for it. 2 minion waves, turret's gone, no big problem there for them. And they just immediately turned to top lane. They lane swapped, and they kept Dyrus there. They were like, great, we'll half lane swap, and now we'll just 4-man your top turret. Cool, we got that one. Mid lane, okay, it's a bit harder. We'll wait on that one. But yeah, they spent a lot of their early game effort just killing off buildings, and that really snowballed them ahead.
Well, let's see how much it snowballed them ahead. We got a replay of that last push of the Game Freak, and they just made it look so easy. We said Reginald was going to jump in from the side, but it took him a while to initiate here.
Yeah, so they go in, they get some damage on Xmithie, immediate flash from Zuna, and they catch Odd1, and that's the really big thing here is they get 1 free kill. It's literally a 5v4 right now, but they had the patience. Look at the burst damage coming out there, right? It's an AoE team, but it's also an assassin team, and they just destroyed people there. Look at that, kill after kill after kill. They just found them. They just found them. And it's okay to be patient. That's the thing, right? You've got Malphite and Kha'Zix and Jarvan. You want to go in there and dive them and deal all the damage, but you don't really need to. Like, yes, they lost Jarvan. Yes, he didn't get to ult, but you want to wait for the opportune time. And Dyrus waited till he could ult 3 people, and reset after reset after reset, they found the kills.
And you know what? This champion select was 100% different from the first one. Things were taken into consideration. Both teams didn't just lock in. Obviously, the Jarvan for the Kog'Maw, the cleanse didn't matter. The assassination and the area of effect team. And I'm going to have to say, this has been my favorite composition of the day from Team Solo Mid.
It's a really good team. It does 2 very different things very, very well. Slug out 5-on-5 in the jungle.
Yeah.
AoE just crushing people in the face. Oh, we've got one guy to watch out for who's saved from AoE. That's fine. We'll wait. We'll save the ultimates. Yeah, okay, bullet time we'll use because you're not going to catch him anyway, so soften up the front line. We'll go from there. We'll wait, and then unstoppable force, they're going to stop someone.
Oh, right on.
All right, so after the break, guys, we're going to talk to Reginald from Team Solo Mid. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more live coverage from the North American LCS.
Welcome back. I'm DJ Weed alongside Riv, and we are joined right now by Reginald from Team Solo Mid. Reggie, first off, GG, congratulations. Yep. But you end the day 1-1. So, I mean, was that your expectation? I got to believe that you were expecting a 2-0 today.
We came into this tournament, and we practiced really hard, and we thought that we were going to beat CLG, and they came in with something unexpected. Like, they pulled Golem over with Syndra, and we're just like, oh, Lynx is trolling. Right, and we didn't expect him to pull the blue over, and we didn't know how many people could have been in that brush, and we just got outplayed there. And like when they start off with the blue buff in lane, like you're at a heavy disadvantage.
Right.
So they just innovated, came with something new that we didn't expect, and we lost. And that's something that's not going to happen to us again.
So I mean, with the onset of best of one matches throughout the season, do you expect that you're going to get surprised by more teams throughout the season?
Oh yeah, I mean. Like this way, it makes it a lot more fun, but at the same time really scary. Mainly because every single game we go in, right, our first game is always not as good as our second game or third game, and that comes in with many factors like being nervous or just not really warming up the right way. And so we came in with Fear, warmed up and ready to go, and Fear played really well. Like they were able to counter some of our moves, and I came in much more warmed up than before, and we came in, we're less nervous, and we just decided to make plays, and we're playing against CLG really scared, I would say, like nervous, and I think we're a lot more comfortable coming in our second match.
I mean, how do you feel like you played versus Vulcan then? Because you did seem a bit reserved. I mean, at 6 minutes 30 seconds, you guys had 2 towers. At like 10:30, you had a third tower, but you still seem a bit reserved. Was that from the loss of CLG, or was that just like, guys, let's just make sure we get a win this time around?
So coming in to play against CLG, I was extremely nervous. I didn't want to mess up. I played extremely passive. I normally never play like that. I usually farm. I don't miss CS. And when I played against CLG, I missed a lot of CS, and I played poorly. But last game, I played a lot better than CLG, but I did not perform well at all. Like I went all in on the Rise, right, and I died with the fort potion. I should not have died. I missed one of my abilities, and that's unacceptable. And coming into that match, I was extremely less nervous, but it could have been a lot better. It could have been much better, and I'm going to prepare myself. This is something I'm going to learn from. This is one of the early matches in the season that, not like it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter as much as other matches coming into the season. So I'm just going to be a lot more prepared, and I don't want to let my teammates down in other games. So I'm going to perform much better coming into Season 3.
Well, it makes perfect sense because your Kale play, your Kha'Zix play, obviously Kale not able to be as aggressive as Kha'Zix. Your Kha'Zix was 100 times better than the Kale. But like you said, nervous in that first game. Do you felt like it coming into the second game? You're like, I'm kind of on a more aggressive champion. Let's do this.
Yeah, so I was definitely more aggressive, but like somewhere inside of me died when I hit a wall in my leap at the blue fight. If you guys didn't miss it, like people should probably put that everywhere and just make fun of me. It was terrible play. I was upset at myself after we won because I played really badly. Like, we had the game won. We went first tower bottom, first tower top, and my only job was just to farm and carry, and I didn't do that well. Like, I could have played it much better, and I'm going to improve.
Right on.
Right on. Sporting some new shirts as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So, Qualcomm is actually sponsoring us, and we're working with CBS to make a show called Game Cribs, where they're going to be showing our daily lives as gamer. And people think that gaming is not a difficult job. It's easy. You just sit there and play games all day. It's not like any other job where you have to complete a task. You're always competing against an opponent that's always trying to get better. And you're competing internationally. They're not equating, like in the factors, the Koreans, the Chinese, always trying to stay at the top, and the North American teams that are constantly battling against each other. It's not like a normal job. You're not only playing against other opponents, you're playing against yourself. You're always trying to better yourself. And like these gamers, they play 6 days, 7 days a week, constantly trying to improve.
Yep.
And other normal jobs, they work 5 days a week, and they get their break to relax. Like, I think that practice will never betray you, and the harder you practice, the better you'll be. Like, I think for sure, I guarantee CLG practiced a lot harder than us, mainly because they started a new roster. They came in with a much better practice regimen, and they overperformed us. And we're going to change that. We're going to practice even harder, and we want to be the best again. We are going to climb to the top.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think we just leave it with those thoughts. I mean, practice is certainly going to dictate the pace for this season. Reginald, thank you very much. Congratulations on ending the day 1-1, and good luck for the rest of the season. I mean, Riv, today was definitely action-packed, and let's take a look at where the teams stand after just one day of competition. And keeping in mind, this is certainly going to expand quite a bit over the next few weeks, but only one of the teams coming out there with 2-0 victory, that obviously being CLG.
Yeah, and one of the freshest rosters, the most changes that the rosters of today see besides a completely new team, right, from an online qualifier, as CounterLogic Gaming, Link and Aphromoo have absolutely been great additions to the team. Link was said to be a consistent player by Doublelift in the interview you had with him, and Aphromoo, Doublelift just says a complete shining star, and he's so much fun to play with, and that is something that you need to always remember is have fun while you're playing.
And the chemistry is there, and that's the unique thing. You add 2 additional people to your roster. How long is that chemistry going to take to actually form? And in every case, every single player says they're good to go. So as we wrap up our first day of the LCS, let's take a look at what you can expect to see tomorrow.
Well, more action in the first match you'll see is the veterans CounterLogic Gaming versus Curse. And with 3 ex-CLG members on Curse's starting lineup, this game is going to get pretty personal. But next we have Team Solo Mid. After that, we'll be taking on Team Dignitas in a rematch of the Season 2 regional finals. Last time TSM came out on top, and Dignitas has not forgotten what happened. In the third game, Curse takes on the newly minted pros of Good Game University. Will Curse's confidence carry them through? Experience and confidence did it last time. And finally, Dignitas will take on the newcomers in Vulcan Command. Since Dignitas is one of the most experienced teams in the LCS, the pressure will be on them to win a decisive victory.
Still a lot of great games to come at you here on day 2 of the first week, and that's going to do it for day 1 of the LCS. Season 3 is just beginning, so be sure to tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific and 2 a.m. Central European to see all of our play-by-play coverage here. I'm DJ Wheat for Riv, Freak, and the entire live broadcast crew. We will see you all tomorrow for day 2 of the Season 3 North American LCS. Thanks for watching, and good night.